Hello there, YouTube. Thanks for stopping by the Old Pick Six Podcast YouTube channel. YouTube.com/Pick6 if you're already there, which you probably are if you're watching on YouTube. But hit the like button. Tell us about that. Tell us your most underrated defensive lineman is or edge guy is. Hit the turn on alerts and, of course, subscribe. So you get when you subscribe and turn on alerts, you get notified when we go live. You can come hang out with us. You don't want to work. Nobody likes working. I mean, even I don't like working, and I'm sitting here working right now talking about football. But you can come hang with us while you are supposed to be working. Turn on alerts and come join us. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. It is Wednesday, July 13th. If you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, if you are checking us out on YouTube, it is Tuesday, July 12th, and as long as it's still like fairly early in July, you're still capable of voting for us or nominating us for the final round of the People's Choice Podcast Awards. We are nominated for the Best Sports Podcast category in the People's Choice Podcast Awards for the fourth year in a row. Truly amazing. It's sort of like Zach Martin getting All-Pro. He could be out there on one leg playing 4 games, and he's still going to get the votes. You know, just sort of locked into that category. We don't care, though. We want to advance, and we appreciate what you guys do. You guys always show up whenever we need you, and we need you to show up now by helping us move to the final round to nominate Pick 6 for a finalist. Go to podcastawards.com/app/sign up, toggle down to sports category, and select Pick 6. It takes about 60 seconds, and the link is in the episode's description. So please go and do that. I'll go do it myself during the podcast. You won't even notice I'm doing it. Joining me to talk edge, defensive line rankings. Oh, we're going to do 2 separate rankings. I'm glad I caught that this time. I didn't catch it when I did it with Jeff Kerr. I missed the fact that we were doing tackles and then going interior. I was like, and I was like, dude, like, you really didn't include Quentin Nelson? Like, I mean, come on, bro. He's like, I think you just forgot the second half of the podcast. But to actually go through both sides of that, joining me, the one, the only, Tyler Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, Will? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I got 2 lists for you. So,
I know. Very impressive.
Double the work. I mean, come on.
I will say that, like, for this, I would not want to have to rank 10 defensive linemen in one list. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Because then you like Aaron Donald, you're one. I mean, like, we're not going to sugarcoat it, right? Like, everybody, like, he's your one no matter what, whether you're doing interior or edge. Oh, by the way, back now on a permanent basis. Just to let people know. I should have probably said it. I was excited about it.
Love it.
I was sitting here listening to drops by myself. I just, why not?
You should have turned the camera on. I mean, that's just an unbelievable blooper.
Yeah. And I don't, yeah, really. I'm glad I didn't have the studio open, although for all I know, Debo was watching me. Probably was. But like you obviously have Aaron Donald 1, and then like you would knock out the early edge guys. And like, I feel like you would get to 10 pretty quickly and feel like you were leaving a lot of guys off.
Yeah.
100%. You know what I mean? Like Joey Bosa, who we'll get to in a minute, or, Vita Vea probably aren't making your list, right?
For sure.
And that's why you got, that's why you put in the work to make those guys feel good about their lives.
Exactly.
But you know that they wake up and they see that list and they start looking.
I was going to say, because this is going to make or break their offseason. I mean, they're just trying to enjoy the last couple of weeks before camp. Last thing they need is to see Tyler Sullivan go on a podcast and say they're not in the top 10.
It's not even the podcast. It's the list on CBS Sports. Like, if you think those guys don't see a CBSSports.com list via Instagram somehow, like, you're crazy.
Well, I'll get off the hook on this one because I'm filling in for Kerr. Kerr did the one for the site. I'm just helping you guys. I'm doing that overtime. I'm good.
Yeah. It would take like, God. All right. So we'll get to some admins. There's a little bit of admin that I want to get to, but I want to point out that like, so I went on 92.3 The Fan on Monday, and I'm like in my house building furniture. And like putting together this like cool little like beverage rack I got for like to hold wine. It's like sort of old. Anyway, I put it together, and I told the producer, it was like, and like I like doing the 923. I think they're do a good job. But it was 2 guest hosts, and I get on there, and they were sitting there asking me about the preponderance of evidence and like how they're going to handle like do it. Like they asked me like 4 legal questions in a row about Deshaun Watson. I'm like, I want to be guys, I know you're doing your jobs, but like, you can't spring preponderance of evidence questions on me at 3:00 in the afternoon on a Monday on July 11th.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Sure.
I mean, I understand you're talking about like 4 straight legal questions. And I was sort of getting, I felt like I was probably getting irritable. So I was probably like sort of firing off. And then I was like, who said this report? They're like, Josina Anderson. I was like, oh, come on. What did now you're really setting me up. Like, I'm like saying like that might not be accurate. And then you're like, oh, your colleague said it. Like, sorry, I'm getting used to this stuff here. Point being is like, I've got like a ton of Browns fans in the old Menchies.
Oh, nice.
Who are like, they're like, this clown doesn't know what he's talking about. There's no evidence. And I guess I don't even know like who I'm mad at. I think I'm mad at everybody. Just like I didn't need that on my Monday. Yeah. And it's also, I thought it was just kind of interesting that Browns fans have taken this now approach where they are like, we are all in on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, it's like our guy, we're going. It's a very,
it's
obviously
wild, like he's never played for them.
Yeah, I know it's bizarre, but it happens. I mean, obviously very different circumstances, but that happened up here in New England with Brady. I mean, it was obviously, greatest and all that, but it did go to another level when he was going with that Deflategate stuff where it was like, no.
Yeah.
Our guy, we're going to the wall, going to the mat. But I trust me, with all that, I know your pain going through ideal gas law and legal briefs and all that. It's really fun.
Dude, I'm a former notary and a former certified paralegal. Like, I don't mind talking legal stuff, but like, just bring it on me at like a 3:00 Monday mid-July interview. Yeah. Like, I haven't been reading I've been listening to Mike Florio. Or I haven't went and looked to see if there's anything Florio had written. I didn't see crap he'd written about it. Like, driving me nuts.
We are now firmly just waiting. we're getting that, and then we'll figure it out.
You're like, also, do you know, like, I'm not sure that I'm not entirely, and I'm not questioning Josina. I just don't know that. Why are we rolling with like? Why would the NFL use the preponderance of evidence? You know what? We don't need to do this right now. Sorry, we got time. We got time for this later. The other piece of admin for the pot that was just me being emoted.
Doesn't want to talk about Deshaun Watson legal stuff. Proceeds to talk about Deshaun Watson legal stuff.
It's pretty much my MO, Sully. Look, I was mostly just annoyed by the two fill-in radio hosts who sprung like 4 straight legal questions on me. Like, and I'm like, I don't have my computer in front of me, and so I'm like, I'm not going. Like, you can't look up that information within like the 30 seconds it takes to answer anyway.
Right.
And then I really got annoyed because 92.3 tweeted out a Brinson, anything less than 8 games is bad for Deshaun. And it's like every single like reply is just trying to light me up. It's like, you're a fanboy who's like suddenly just like glomming on to Deshaun Watson without any prior knowledge to like what might have happened the second the trade went down. These Browns fans probably went from like, oh, like, this guy should be suspended for life to like, this guy's an innocent. I know this man. Like, it's like, it's whatever. I was also talking to somebody about related to idle gas law over the weekend. I was explaining, somebody was like talking about I can't read it, talking about Barstool somehow. And somebody was like, Dave Portnoy is a genius. I was like, I don't think I disagree with that. I was like, I think one of the smartest things he's done is, it's like, some people are like, all publicity is good publicity, or no publicity is bad publicity.
Yeah.
But I think Portnoy kind of believes, and maybe this is not entirely true, but I think he believes this. Like, bad publicity is great publicity. Getting arrested in the middle of Deflategate is like the best possible publicity.
I mean, he still gets mentioned from Brady and even all the rest of those guys. I mean, they still have that.
But that loyalty to Brady and like that bad publicity, being arrested or whatever, got him loyalty with Brady and gets it, into that. I don't know.
But even what was it a few years ago? He got dragged out of the Super Bowl. And it was hilarious. He's wearing like a fake mustache, and
the NFL's like lean. The NFL's like playing into his hand.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Oh yeah. One more thing. Before we start getting to your rankings. Update. You guys are. People are okay. So, did you hear about yesterday's podcast?
Refresh me.
No, you didn't need to. I didn't know if you heard. So, Wilson was like, we were talking about. I was like, if we win this podcast award, I'll get a tattoo. Okay. Wilson's like, well, you still got to pay for mine. I'm like, is that the holdup? I got to pay you? He's like, yes. Like that's all the holdup is. He was like, yeah. I was like, well, how much? He was
Just in the middle of the story, Sully.
Just in the middle of a good one, Debo.
This
I mean,
guy
come on
in
now.
his new house. So basically, they had Brinson's back.
Oh, there you go.
I'm even hardwired in. It's just Chrome on this old crappy.
I think it's Wilson, unplugging something and just not really wanting you to.
But anyway, so I was like, all right, well, give me your Venmo right now, and I will Venmo you $300. I sent to him immediately. He was like, and so now he's kind of jammed on it. But we are accepting additional Venmos to Ryan Wilson. If you would like to, I'm trying to find it. Let's see.
How big is this tattoo going to be for $300? Is he gonna
Look at this. Oh my God. We have seen one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different people have Venmoed Ryan Wilson money to help increase the cost of what the tattoo will be. So if you are a podcast listener, if you're a podcast YouTube watcher, if you would like to Venmo Ryan Wilson money, the more money he gets, the better, the more ridiculous, the better quality the tattoo will be. If there's any money left over, we'll donate it to charity, or we'll maybe we'll win the podcast awards to help pay for my tattoo. His Venmo, Ryan, this is so classic Wilson, Ryan Wilson 37831. How old do you have to be to think that that's a good username on any platform?
That is the one that they just give you. It's like suggested, and you don't edit it. You just go cool.
Ryan Wilson, 37,831st Ryan Wilson in the world to sign up for Venmo. It's like probably what happened.
I mean, how big is this tattoo gonna get? I mean, are we talking like Ben Affleck dragging up the back? Like, is that what we're doing?
It's gonna be like 3x3 on the shoulder, but like, so Nada was telling us that he has a half a sleeve. Yep. And he's like, you can probably get the 3x3 done for $300. You can definitely get it done for like $450.
Yeah.
So if people want to,
I have a tattoo on my back. And
no kidding. What do you have?
Yeah. Just like an Irish family crest thing.
And
but
a little leprechaun.
Very, very towny of me. And but that, I think it was like $275. I got it when I was 18. And that was I think it was like $275. But it's a good size. I mean, it's like,
Yeah. So it's like $275.
Yeah.
But it's like a fairly like a
colored, there was a lot to do with it. It was like, it took like 3 hours.
You probably get a little discount though, like, cause you got it done in Southie.
Anyway, it said my last name's Sullivan, and it was all over from there.
So are you, let's see, I got to make sure I'm trying to furiously look at, I'm hoping you're on, are you going to, oh God, this is our, okay, we're going to Nashville.
Yeah.
In August.
Sweet.
And we're going to be doing podcasts from there. So Wilson's going to get it done in Nashville.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're going to hopefully film it, like film part of it. Maybe Breach and I'll podcast while Wilson's getting tattooed, screaming in the background. Oh God,
you got to give him a mic as he's on there. I mean, come on, at least get in there for a second.
Right, for sure. So, yeah. So we're going to do that. And if you want to increase the quality of Ryan Wilson's tattoo, and look, if you can Venmo him at Ryan-Wilson 37831.
I love it.
Terms and conditions may apply. Okay, we're like 13, 14 minutes in. I'm truly incredible at my job. Oh, wow. Interesting quote here. Quick piece of news, just to get it out of the way because it just happened. Rob Gronkowski told Mike Reese that, I'm reading Adam Schefter's tweet here. This is that if Tom Brady called, he wouldn't come out of retirement. Quote, I would answer, obviously, the greatest quarterback of all time. Ask him how he's doing. Tell him I'm going good, but I wouldn't go back to football. No. Buy or sell, Gronk doesn't want to play or just is holding out for more money?
No, I think he's done. Okay. I really do. I think he's done. It'd be weird. I know it's weird because his agent immediately said Drew Rosenhaus after he announced his retirement. He's like, "Well, if Tom Brady calls, can come back."
Just him leveraging Gronk for cash, probably.
Yeah, I don't know if I see it again. If they're offering him a boatload of money and like, let's just say like Mike Evans goes down in December and they're the number 1 seed in the NFC, like, okay, maybe there's circumstantial, and all that, but like, I don't think it's. I believe Gronk this time around when he says he's not coming back and he's done.
Okay. Yeah, that's about it. All right. Let's get to your rankings, and we will start on the edge. We'll start at number 10. Let's do how you want to do it? I'm trying to do them try to group them and in the bottom. All right, we'll do the bottom. We'll just do them quick. How about this?
Yeah.
Robert Quinn at 10 checks in. And what's interesting? Actually, you know what's really interesting? 5 through 10 has 3 guys from the 2011 draft class. That is pretty wild, man.
That is wild.
Robert, let's just talk about those 3 guys, and we'll come back and we'll circle through it. Everybody else. Robert Quinn at 10, Cam Jordan at 7, and Von Miller at 5. And I realize that's an unconventional way to do a top 10 list, but the fact that they're all from the 2011 draft class, and we're going to the 2022 NFL season, and those guys are all legit top 10 pass rushers, edge rushers. Robert Quinn, if I was picking one of those 3 to fall off a cliff a little bit, I guess it would be Robert Quinn. Just because the team he's on, the Bears they lost Khalil Mack, they lost Akeem Hicks. It's going to be a little bit tougher. You could definitely, you Google Robert Quinn and the first thing pops up is Robert Quinn trade destinations, Colin. So it wouldn't be shocking at all if he was traded. He played at Carolina, incredible story. Overcame a brain tumor to be a first-round pick in 2011, and has been just so. It's his production, Sully, has been just wild because he was awesome with the Rams for a stretch. He could have won Defensive Player of the Year in 2013. He was a first-team All-Pro, had 19 sacks, sort of cooled off a bit. They go to LA, comes back in Miami 1 year, is fine, has 11.5 sacks for the Cowboys, and then just has a resurgence last year, 18.5 sacks for the Bears. I think it's a good enough reason to have him there as the top 10 spot. Is there somebody you thought about maybe flipping in for him? Somebody, that you just left off, and is it more of a recognition? Is it sort of like a guy his age playing that well, you're going to put him on there?
I mean, yeah, that's part of it. You second team All-Pro, 18.5 sacks, most in a single season in Bears history. I mean, it's tough when somebody like that produces a season like he just did to say, all right, well, actually, here's all the reasons why he shouldn't be a top 10 guy. I mean, like you said, there's a good possibility that he falls off if he remains in Chicago. Those sack numbers, I think, are going to fall pretty significantly, because if you just think about game flow of what Chicago might be next year, they're probably going to be trailing a lot, which means the opposing offense is just going to run the football, which, again, reduces the number of sack opportunities that Quinn will probably see next year. But in terms of guys that just missed out, I mean, there's a handful of them. Shaq Barrett, Chase Young, Chandler Jones, Harold Landry, Brian Burns. And the biggest one for me, and I didn't listen to the podcast. I think it was, I think you might have had Patrick Walker on for linebackers, but
Breach. No, Patrick Walker. Breach came in, I think.
Johnny.
Okay. Dejani did it. Yeah.
Dejani. Okay. I didn't know if he had Micah Parsons in there.
Yeah, Micah Parsons was actually one.
Okay. So
he in fact told Jeff Kerr, who wrote the list for the site, he said, "I'm taking Micah Parsons, not you." Which is
true. He's an off-ball linebacker. I mean, he's just phenomenal when they put him off the edge.
Cowboys depth chart. If they start listing him as a defensive end, which by the way they won't do, because if you list him as a defensive end, then when he gets to free agency, he gets more money in the franchise tag. He'll be an off-ball linebacker. So he's just going to be a linebacker. They're not going to list him as a defensive end.
No, that's certainly part of it. But again, he's someone who you immediately think of and say, okay, well, if you were to put him in twice in a list, this is kind of that situation where you would, consider him, that back end, maybe even higher, who knows. But yeah, those are the guys that just missed. But again, Quinn, 18.5 sacks, that's tough to ignore. I mean, you just can't. Yeah. You can't just be like, you know what? Never mind. He's second in the league in sacks last year.
Yeah. That's what's weird about these lists, right? You don't want to overcompensate for last year, but you also don't want to just toss out 18.5 sacks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a balance to it, of course, naturally.
Yeah, and was Quinn on Jeff's? This is your list, or is it Jeff's list that you're discussing?
This is my list, but a lot of inspiration from Jeff's. Okay. I looked at his and just kind of, copied it, moved some guys, deleted it.
If you went Brian Burns 10 and left Robert Quinn off, I wouldn't really flinch. But if I were Robert Quinn, I'd be like, what do you want, 20 sacks?
Exactly.
F you, dude. Just leave me on the list. And
especially when we talk about the guy who's at the top of this list, who's, the number one sack guy in the NFL. You can't credit one guy for doing one thing one season and then discredit a guy for
Right.
doing something extremely similar.
Yeah, and look, like Chandler Jones didn't make the list. You mentioned, of course, you mentioned the guys. I mean, there's just a lot of really good edge rushers in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to make a top list.
Harold Landry was one for me too, just because I loved the leap that he took last year.
Yeah, and I think Brian Burns is the type of guy who could have,
sure.
like, if we talk about anyway, we don't need to talk about the Panthers. We talk enough about it, but like, it's like if people keep, I get asked about, it's like, like run into somebody at the store. They're like, what's that? Let's talk about Baker. I'm like, I don't know if you know this, but I have a podcast where I literally talk about Baker Mayfield, and you can download it. Here's a link.
Yeah, but when it's in aisle 2 next to the milk and all that stuff, that's where you get the real nitty gritty stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You're really gonna get my answer. You're not gonna get my like. I mean, don't get me wrong. It depends on who it is too. Like if it's like somebody I like, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, but anyway, point being is like Brian Burns, where it's like if Derek Brown takes a leap and Brian Burns could take a concurrent. You know what I'm saying? Like if that Panthers defense, there's a couple things where everything breaks right, they could be good, and you feel way better about with Baker. But it's that defense to me that's the key. And Burns, I think Burns is on this list next year. Yeah. But hey, look, there's nobody on here that that you would definitively take Brian Burns over. Trey Hendrickson at 9. I mean, one of the underrated things about the Bengals Super Bowl run, Sully, is that how am I going to forget it? Carl Lawson. They allowed Carl Lawson to leave in free agency, which was surprising because he was a homegrown guy who had really had a nice season the year before. He signs with the Jets. They bring in Trey Hendrickson from the Saints. Carl Lawson tears his ACL in training camp, but Trey Hendrickson has a monster year and really like, I mean, they don't make the Super Bowl if they don't make that swap. Hendrickson 14 sacks in his first season with Cincinnati, made his first Pro Bowl, best year of his career by far. Doesn't wear gloves. That's a bonus.
Gotta love that. Usually that's reserved for like baseball players, right? Like it's like, oh yeah, he doesn't wear gloves when he swings the bat. No, but it's great. But with Hendrickson, it's one of the rare guys too where he has one of his, to that point, the best year of his career in 2020 with the New Orleans Saints. Signs a big money deal with Cincinnati, and you're like, okay, I always am a little weary about the guys who blow up in a contract year and how that's going to look after they get paid. Follows it up with another, tremendous season. 4th in the NFL in pressures, 16.6% in pressure rate, which was the highest in the NFL last year. So this guy was able to get after the quarterback quite a bit, and like you said, a huge piece to why they were in the Super Bowl.
No doubt about it. At number 8. Joey Bosa, maybe Joey Bosa is one of my favorite players of all time. And he's probably, what's crazy? He's just now turning 27.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Bosa's were cousins with Jake Krumero. No kidding.
Oh, really?
Get out of town. Just learned that by looking at Pro Football Reference. What's weird about Joey Bosa is that he is so people complain that like when he came out of college that he was sort of like a low ceiling guy, which I thought was always so stupid because he was 20 years old when he was drafted. He probably hasn't hit the ceiling that we hoped that Joey Bosa had. And that's mostly due to injuries. He's very good against the run. When he plays 16, 17 games, he is a Pro Bowl caliber elite guy. But has missed plenty of time either through holdout. He's still the rookie of the year his first season, but he's never had that monster sack season. And I think it's fair to wonder, like, is it coming? Maybe it won't. Maybe it's a scheme thing. Maybe it's just a how he plays thing. Maybe it's just sacks a random thing. Definitely belongs on the list. But if you had asked me like, where's Joey Bosa going to be after 2016, I would have said top 5 every single year.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's there right now, but he's still a great player.
And it could happen. I mean, there's a couple of guys that we're going to talk about, especially later on in this list, who I think have some real defensive player of the year, sleeper kind of talk a little bit. And you can make the case that if Bosa, if the addition of Khalil Mack opens things up for him to really have one lane to the quarterback and not have all the attention drawn to him, then you could see him put up some impressive numbers. I mean, he did have 10 and a half sacks last year, and he was only one of 3 edge rushers to have at least 10 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and the only other 2 were TJ Watt and Chandler Jones. So, I mean, he is putting himself in elite categories. It might not be to the, like you said, the ceiling that we've seen so far, but he's still one of those impact guys for sure.
Yep, for sure. By the way, Baker Mayfield said he's looking forward to eating his first meal at Bojangles. He's never eaten there before.
All right.
Have you ever had
Neither have I.
Bojangles?
Neither have I.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh man. If you've never had Bojangles, I read it. You know what? I probably shouldn't distract this any further, should I? But Bojangles, it is the greatest hangover food on the planet. Chicken, egg, and cheese biscuit.
Ooh, all right.
Oh my God. So greasy. So sloppy. So cheesy. So chicken. It's spicy chicken. Oh boy. Cam Jordan at number 7. We mentioned him from the 2011 class. Did we actually, you know what? I completely screwed that up. I tried to make us go
It's
10,
fine.
7, 5, and I'm terrible at this. Cam Jordan, 7. Again, 2011 draft class. I think Cam Jordan's worked his way into being a Hall of Famer. That's my hot take on Cam Jordan.
And he's just weirdly underrated. Like I just don't feel like we talk about him like we talk about even Joey Bosa or Trey Hendrickson, even like, you know, guys that are just above him on this list. Shaq Barrett, even, who's not even on the top 10 list this year.
Yeah.
Like he is just time and time again as steady as it comes. 12.5 sacks last year. He was tied for first in run stops. All around type of player that you want at the position. So for me, yeah, but it doesn't feel like we talk him in the same breath as like a Khalil Mack or a Von Miller or, you know, those guys that have been around for a while.
And Cam Jordan too, I think, you know, he's made the Pro Bowl each of the last 5 years. And if you look at, you know, if you value approximate, you know, if you value approximate value, damn it. If you put stock in approximate value, which is AV on Pro Football Reference, it's very clear that around the age of 28, he really, and look, 2017 draft class, it might not be a coincidence. The Saints go 7 and 9, and all of a sudden you get this infusion of talent from that 2017 draft class where, you know, and the Saints are really good again, and they open up the Super Bowl window, and Cameron Jordan's, you know, sort of personality starts to shine, and he starts to really put up these big seasons. I mean, he was a 4th for Defensive Player of the Year in 2017, made first team All Pros, made second team All Pro twice since then, every year a Pro Bowler, and like his you know, his stats are just better now. You know, he produces more in terms of sacks and like off the edge. The quarterback hits went through the roof. I don't know if it's like. And like, dude, like sometimes it clicks later. I mean, like, and he was always very good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But in the last 5 years, he's elevated into one of the best. Like, I think he has taken it from Cam Jordan's a very good player to, Cam Jordan's in the same discussion as Von Miller, and all those 2011 guys. Like, maybe not JJ Watt, because JJ Watt's just like a surefire Hall of Famer, but I think he's really elevated his standing, but still remains, because of those first 5 or 6 years of his career, very much underrated. Number 6, Khalil Mack. I mean, I actually think Khalil Mack might be a little overrated.
See, this was probably the toughest one, and I think
I would have probably had him lower. I think
that this was the biggest discrepancy between my list and what Kerr has on the site right now. I don't believe Mack is on his top 10 list.
And like that's fine, but like that can come back and buy. That's what I would be worried about getting like just obliterated when Khalil Mack goes nuts this
right. I mean, there's certainly some freezing cold take, you know,
potential
threats there,
yeah.
But you know, again, limited 7 games last year. So if you're talking about, you know, durability and all that, then, you know, I can see where you're coming from. In the sample size that we did see, though, he was basically a sack a game guy. He had 6 sacks last year in 7 games. Obviously was dealing with a season-ending injury. I'm looking more at the upside of him going from the Bears to the Chargers.
Sure.
They're going to, you know, that offense is high flying. They're going to be up in a lot of these games, which is going to set up more opportunities for him to rack up some sack totals for him. Yeah, especially, like I was just saying, it could just as mean this way with Joey Bosa as well. Joey Bosa be getting a ton of attention.
That's a good Boston name, by the way. Joey Bosa.
Yeah, exactly.
Joey Bosa. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
But what I'm saying is, you know, the amount of attention that each guy will get is going to make life easier for the other.
It'll be interesting to see like who's more in charge of stopping the run, like who's sort of like given the more like run stuffing gigs, like who is going to be told more to get off the edge and get after the quarterback, like and who do defense.
That could be Mack. I mean, you know, I was doing some stats. PFF had him as the number 1 ranked edge rusher against the run over the last 2 seasons.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that's yeah, exactly. That's the point. Is like could mean like there's the 20 sack season from Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
Because he's had Melvin Ingram there. Melvin Ingram's great, but it's like, and so like if Joey Bosa, if everything clicks in year 2 with Staley and Mack is the guy who's like setting the edge and you know, I think that's really interesting to watch. Von Miller at number 5. Miller's fascinating. Again, 2011 draft class. Probably a Hall of Famer before he gets traded to the Rams mid-season and wins a Super Bowl, a second Super Bowl. Super Bowl MVP. Does Vaughn have Defensive Player of the Year? I don't think he does. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I mean, Donald takes
Defensive Rookie of the Year and 2 second place Defensive Player of the Year. Is also a 2-time Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, Hall of Fame All 2000s team, 8-time Pro Bowl, 3-time All Pro. The second Super Bowl probably cemented it. Really his worst year outside of 2013 when he was either suspended or injured. But it just been a phenomenal career. Signs a monster deal in Buffalo. Very interesting to see how he does in terms of production in Buffalo because Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier, great defensive coaches, and the Bills are going to have leads. Like he's going to be chasing down, Zach Wilson, Tua, Mac Jones,
Well, there's going to be a lot of coverage sacks too, I think, where you have an unbelievable secondary with Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, Khair Elam, the first round rookie corner that they drafted. Although that's a pretty impressive secondary, and they were number 1 against the pass and DVOA last year.
You're going to be a top 5 defense, like almost for sure.
You're going to you are going to see the quarterbacks hold the football a lot. When you have a guy like Von Miller, he's already going to get some.
Did you mention Tre'Davious White? I mean, yeah.
He's coming back too off what was it? The ACL, right? It was an ACL. It wasn't an Achilles, right? It was an ACL.
It was ACL, yeah.
But either way, that's a huge addition to this, and I think Von Miller is just going to put up numbers. But I think that and I think I said this on HQ probably like a few weeks ago now. But I think that they bring him. I think they bring him in, also, obviously for what he can do on the field, but he is a legit winner, and he's been there, like Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion. He is somebody for a franchise that has never won a Super Bowl, who always gets so close, but there's 13 seconds where Patrick Mahomes flies down the field and they can't get a stop. That's a guy that can make that play.
I mean, you heard like Aaron Donald said after the Super Bowl or like leading up to the Super Bowl, he's like, Von Miller made me a better leader in the locker room, a better player, a better winner. And they also want him to come in and mentor Greg Rousseau, Boogie Basham, all these, Ed Oliver, all these younger, Ed Oliver's interior, but like all these younger defensive linemen that they brought in. Like if Von Miller can make Aaron Donald a better leader in the locker room, then he can definitely make the rest of those dudes like better. Like I agree completely. That is not lost on. And by the way, I believe just really quickly, and
I'll tell you this while you're looking, whatever you're looking up, when he joined,
you're looking
whatever you're trying to do. Miller led the NFL in tackles for a loss once he joined the Rams. So week 10 on, he was just a monster for them. So again, it's not like, it's just leadership. He is legitimately mowing people down.
Do you know who this is? I was 99% sure this is correct, but the defensive coordinator for the 2015 Carolina Panthers, 15-1 team that lost to Von Miller and the Broncos in the Super Bowl. Do you know who the defensive coordinator was?
Is it Leslie Frazier?
Sean McDermott.
Hey, there we go.
I mean, so in other words, like he has firsthand knowledge of what Von Miller can do in a situation. Like if you're a guy like Sean McDermott, you think about Von Miller like a lot.
Yeah.
You watch what he did to that offense and you think about that a lot. They were the best team, the best offense in all of football. And Von Miller.
And I mean, in Buffalo blew most of these teams out of the water in terms of that offer. I mean, I wrote a story a couple of weeks ago where Miller was talking about, I would have taken less to go to Dallas, but Buffalo, they weren't coming close to Buffalo's offer.
Yep. And obviously like Brandon Beane was up in the suite watching Von Miller. Like these guys probably think about Von Miller. Like they would both have Super Bowl rings. They don't. They would both have Super Bowl rings, but for Von Miller. So yeah. At number 4, Max Crosby. No beef at all there. I mean, he got paid this offseason. Awesome story about how he, talk about how it's like he got paid like it was like exactly like 5 years or 7 years to the day that he got sober. Such a cool story.
Really quickly on Crosby. Just this is my guy. I'm planting my flag. 50-1 defensive player of the year.
That's a bet.
You have to bet this.
Yeah, why wouldn't you bet that?
He had 100 pressures last year. It's only the third time that's happened since 2006. And we're talking about a guy that now has Chandler Jones on the other side. It's the same thing we're talking about with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. If they just let him tee off, we're talking about a huge sack season, and he'll be in that conversation. You will be very happy that you went 50-1 on him.
100 pressures and only 8 sacks is kind of wild.
Bananas.
Like that's a like a regression to the mean type of thing. Whereas as long as he's not forced to be the run guy and Chandler Jones is flying off. I mean, but yeah, Chandler Jones there definitely helps Max Crosby. 100 pressures, 8 sacks. You should see a bump up in that production. 30 QB hits last year. That is a F ton. Okay. That's your guy. I like the flag plant. My guy at number 3, Nick Bosa. And you can't bet him because he's like 10-1.
Yeah.
I just loved, I don't know. I mean, like, not like this is a hot take. I just love the Bosa fan. Like, I just like the Bosas.
I mean, they're both in the top 10. They're animals.
Yeah, they're absolute animals. He missed obviously 2020, except for 2 games with the torn ACL. Came back with a vengeance, 21 tackles for loss, 32 quarterback hits, 15.5 sacks, coming off an ACL tear. I mean, he's 20. Has he turned 25 yet? No, he turns 25 in October. I mean, like,
it's silly.
The dude's a joke. Like how he's somehow it's a joke. He's great. I don't know. He's 24. He's got I don't know. What, got anything else to add? He's silly. He's great.
Well, he's a big reason why I think the 49ers are comfortable with giving up a ton of picks and bringing on a rookie quarterback in Trey Lance, because they feel like they have a defense that can keep these games close. It's not like this kid's going to be, trying to chuck his way to victory every week. They feel like they have a defense that can smother quarterbacks because of Bosa, and they have weapons on offense and obviously an offensive line that can bring along this young quarterback. So again, I think that he's part of the calculus as to why they decided to trade up, and they're kind of going all in on moving away from Garoppolo and going with Lance.
Yep. I tend to agree with that completely. Number 2. Look, number 2 and number 1, we'll just slap together. AFC North guys, you know who it is. Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. I think Myles Garrett was 2nd defensive player of the year, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was like if Myles Garrett should have a defensive player of the year award, but it's like weird. Like he has the helmet thing, and then he has some. Like,
when was the helmet thing? Was that 2019?
Yeah, but it's like he was suspended. Yeah, it was 2019. Let me double check. Hold on. God, everything blends together.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's first team All-Pro the last 2 years, 28 sacks. He's just has been completely dominant, but somebody's had a better year, Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's just like defensive player of the year. 2020 was Aaron Donald. 2021 was TJ Watt. Myles Garrett is a worthy winner of the award both seasons. Somebody was just better.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing in an era where there is a TJ Watt, Aaron Donald's.
Yeah,
we're talking about Von Miller not having one. It's very similar. It's
for Drew Brees, no MVP votes, right? Or
Yeah.
like no MVP, or he's got MVP votes, but no MVP, right? Yeah, I mean, exactly. Yeah. I mean, Myles Garrett is still just 26, won't turn 27 until late December, has as much upside as any, defensive player in the league. And I think it'll be tougher for him to, this is the unfortunate reality of defense and of defensive awards. A lot tougher for him to win the award if Deshaun Watson isn't playing this season, because the Browns need to be relevant. They need to be in a playoff race. And, if you have leads, it's easier to tee off. And if you're trailing, it's a lot harder. So, that is just the reality of the situation for Myles Garrett in 2022.
But he's everything that you would want if you're a franchise picking number 1 overall and you're going with an edge rusher. This is exactly who you want him to become. It's not a Jadeveon Clowney where it's like, well, it didn't get to exactly where I wanted it to go. He is legitimately that anchor to your defense.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson were taken in that draft, and no one complains that the Browns didn't take him first overall.
Yeah.
Now,
it's more of a Bears thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where that conversation starts.
Yeah. Nobody's like, oh, you really messed up by taking Myles Garrett. Nobody says that. And then TJ Watt, of course, Watt comes back, and no, TJ Watt fell to 30th in that draft. That may have been a mistake.
Right.
Maybe don't allow him to fall. 22.5 sacks, defensive player of the year, first team All-Pro for the third year in a row. Went 3-2-1 in terms of voting for defensive player of the year. He's just, I don't know. He's just J.J. Watt's little brother, and it turns out that the family lines are pretty good there.
It's the Bosa's and the Watts. I don't know what's in the water over there, but they're doing well.
I got an idea. You want to invest in the Watts and the Bosas. Like if there's another Watt coming out of college, here's an idea: draft him. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. And again, I think he had those 22.5 sacks. Wasn't that just 14 games?
15 games. So
15
he
games.
missed 2 games. Yeah, I mean, if he plays the other 2 games, he definitely he's putting up a number that nobody's catching.
Yeah.
Led the league in tackles for loss and sacks the last 2 years. Just an absolute freak. And we're not trying to be short with TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. It's just like
it's well, we're gonna do the same thing with Aaron Donald. It's like
like what do you like? What I mean?
No kidding.
Here's his resume. Like you knew he was 1. You knew those guys were 1 and 2.
If you need me to explain to you why he's number 1 and that good, then it's something's wrong.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do interior defensive linemen. We start at we'll do 10. How do you 10, 9, and 8? I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
We'll just do 3 at a time, just because we took up 8 a lot. It's my fault for talking about Deshaun and Cleveland radio and tattoos. And
I was captivated.
I would if you have to. You were willing. I wouldn't say you're captivated. You're willing.
I was captive. I can say that.
Vita Vea checks in at number 10, the big man for the Buccaneers. No problem with him at all there. You also have Grady Jarrett at 9. Oh, yeah, I guess you should mention just missed Leonard Williams, DJ Reader, Javon Hargrave, Grady Jarrett at 9, Kenny Clark at 8. Like these Grady Jarrett's fascinating because who knows? Like, I mean, it's him and AJ Terrell on that defense. And it does feel like, he's getting older. He's 29 now. Former 5th round pick, just great out of Clemson. He shouldn't have fallen that far, obviously. Great success story. Was on Pete Prisco's better than list. Like Pete planted his flag for Grady Jarrett early on. Had a great run. Sort of wonder how good he can be this year with the Falcons.
I think we're talking about someone who's trending in the other direction. He's still, among the elite, but is going down. The numbers, if you look at him, you're going to go, okay, they're not really there, but he just plays for a bad team. It's tough to really make a huge impact. But if you put him on a contender, like if you all of a sudden put him in, if you take out Vita Vea and you put in Grady Jarrett in Tampa Bay, I think you're seeing tremendous results.
Yeah. And with Vita Vea, just worth noting here, credit to Jason Light. He got killed for the Vita Vea pick. They passed on Derwin James for him. He's like, hey, you take a 2-down guy. Vita Vea is a monster. And now they have Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea. Did they bring back Ndamukong Suh is still a free agent?
No, he's still a free agent. Latest report I read today was Raiders and Vikings and Cleveland Browns out. Okay. They weren't interested, so that was the latest.
If Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea play 17 games each, you will not be able to they will give up 30 rushing yards per game. The Buccaneers will. Like you cannot run on that duo if they play like 15 games apiece. And the Bucs defense looks great. Vita Vea should have another monster year. Kenny Clark feels like he falls very much in the underrated section, right? I mean,
yeah, he's more of the true nose tackle.
Yeah.
Like that's really what it. I mean, a lot of these guys, especially like you go to the top of the list. Aaron Donald, he's moved around a little bit more. He
also generates pressure from the interior more so than like Kenny Clark's career high 6 sacks.
But I'll tell you this though, Kenny Clark, when he's legitimately just lined up as the nose tackle, he has 14 more pressures than any other player as a nose tackle going back to 2018.
Wow,
so
very nice.
So it's when he's lined up in that spot, he's better than anybody else that does the same thing.
Yeah, and he just sort of flies under the radar. And look, the interior defensive line is a lot less sexy outside of the edge. You get splashy guys making big plays that everyone notices. You don't see people on the interior grinding. Number 7, Christian Wilkins. Kind of surprised to see him there.
I mean, he's another one who's young, 26 years old, ascending, best year of his career last year. He's the 6th highest graded interior defensive line by PFF, 89 tackles, which was tied for the most among those players at his position, 29 pressures, 4.5 sacks. I just think that this is a guy that's
a touchdown for the 2nd straight year.
I know. So, I mean, dual threat. Come on now.
Yeah.
I just think he's an ascending player
for
a team that's probably going to be more competitive than they've been during his tenure.
Yep.
And I think, again, he's someone who I'm kind of maybe a little bit more bullish on, but I think for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, like I always thought it was kind of insane that so the three guys taken in that out of Clemson on the defensive line in that 2019 NFL draft in the first round were, Clelin Ferrell at 4, Christian Wilkins goes 13, and then Dexter Lawrence goes 17. Like in my mind, it always should have been I'm trying to make sure there wasn't a fourth one taken. God, 3 guys off 1 defensive line is ridiculous. It always should, like Wilkins was always the best overall future NFL player. Dexter Lawrence, as I've like always thought was a freak from like since high school. But the difference is just, Wilkins is maybe more like Aaron Donald-ish and less like, run stoppy.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and Farrell obviously has just been
I mean, it was a weird pick at the time, if we're being,
everybody every time was like, "What? That's a mistake." And Wilkins has turned out to be the best one so far. I didn't mean when I said I was surprised to see him here. I guess I was like, I mean, this is also takes into a little bit of projection too, like ascending
For
player. Sure. Yeah, okay. DeForest Buckner at number 6. He's a stud.
Stud. Actually, down year last year, but he's still again among one of the better interior guys that we have. I think that they're going to be better defensively. I mean, they were already a top 10 unit in DVOA last year.
Thing worries me. I mentioned that a lot, but like Gus Bradley, like going from Matt Eberflus to Gus Bradley concerns me.
Yep. But I mean, you're adding Yannick Ngakoue, Stephon Gilmore in that secondary. I mean, again, that's all going to complement.
Personnel-wise, they might be better.
Yeah.
Statistically and production-wise, they might be worse. Maybe.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, DeForest Buckner's, I mean, no one is going to complain that they traded that first round pick for him, right? Yeah. Like I think it's worked out fine for the Colts. Jonathan Allen, didn't he just get a big contract this offseason? Am I crazy?
He did. I think he was the one. Yeah, because
a rare Bruce Allen pick that actually worked out. Bruce Allen's just piling up Alabama defensive linemen, and he checks in at number 5, by the way. Jonathan Allen, he's like his health has really been his issue. Can he stay on the field? Because man, when he does, I mean, he's just a beast. Again, like not a super sexy position. But had his best year of his career last year, 9 sacks.
Yeah. Better against the pass or rushing the pass than he is against the run. But you go dating back to 2020, 114 pressures, only looking up to Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, and Cam Hayward at the position.
Dating back to what year?
2020.
That's it. See, now that's notable to me because that's when Ron Rivera started coaching there. And you sort of wonder, like, I mean, does Ron Rivera, like, is there a chance, you look at the, I lost it. Where's Allen saying? Hold on 1 sec. I had his player thing. So his 2 best seasons of his career, and granted, like sometimes this happens where you blossom in your 4th and 5th year, but the 2 best seasons of his career have been under Ron Rivera, who is a noted defensive coach. And, and like before it was like Jay Gruden, and he had Greg Minuski he had Jay Gruden as his head coach and Greg Minuski for 3 years. And now he's got Ron Rivera and he's blossoming. So it's not unreasonable to suggest that he could actually, this contract could end up looking like a pretty good deal. And he could have a monster season coming up in that 3rd year in that Ron Rivera defense. I feel bad that we're rushing through the interior offensive defensive line. It happens. Yeah. Number 4, Jeffrey Simmons tore his ACL in the pre-draft process, and as a result fell all the way down to 19th overall, where the Titans snagged him. And man, what a good pick that was. He was only played 9 games his rookie season, but was clearly an impact player. 15 games in 2020, continued to improve, and then exploded last year. 8.5 sacks. I played all 17 games, second team All-Pro, Pro Bowler. I mean, dude's a stud.
And he's not even 25 yet.
That's pretty crazy.
It's bananas how, and as much as I was talking about Harold Landry before, I mean, he's another guy that is helping the Tennessee Titans have some semblance of a pass rush, something that's been eluding them for a while now. So again, that's a huge piece to what they're trying to do with Mike Vrabel. All-around guy, 62 pressures last year that was 5th at the position. He's just someone who I think is going to be an ascending player for them going forward. Yeah.
I mean, he is a franchise. Like, you don't want to call, I mean, it's hard to call a,
but even going at the draft, I know you're saying like, oh, he fell to the 19th pick. He was a top 5, top 10.
No, he was a top 5 pick.
Like take it to the
He
bank
was
very
a
healthy.
top 5 pick if he doesn't tear his ACL. Like I remember Daniel Jeremiah saying that. And by the way, the Raiders passed on him at least twice, right? Maybe just once. Like he should have gone where Cleveland Farrell went.
Yeah.
He should have been number 4 overall if he doesn't tear his ACL. It's hard to take a guy who tears his ACL there, but man, like that's where he just should have gone there.
But I never understand that argument where it's, especially when you're a team at the top half of the draft. Are you really looking to contend that immediately that next year? I mean, there are teams that are in that position, but more often than not, you're building to the future. You're building something that's going to contend 3 to 4 years from now. So what does it matter that he tears his ACL in the pre-draft process? He's going to miss half of year 1 or maybe all of year 1. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's because usually what happens is teams that are high up have coaches who are on GMs who are on the hot seat and are forced to be, you're in a spot where, and that's where, again, Oakland and eventually Las Vegas, but Oakland at the time, like screwed up is you could afford to take him there because you had the leeway to take a Jeffrey Simmons and to squat on him for a little while. And maybe they thought he would fall to him at their next pick. They ended up going Josh Jacobs, but anyway, point being, yeah, dude's a monster. By the way, that, you know who didn't make your, did you mention Josh Allen is a honorable mention on that draft?
I don't think so, but
okay. But just looking at
could easily be on there.
Yeah, just looking at the 2019 draft class real quickly. Nick Bosa, we mentioned, so Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, Ed Oliver, Rashawn Gary, Christian Wilkins, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, that's pretty stout, man.
That's a good collection.
And I even skipped over Quinn Williams and Cleveland Farrell.
That was like that safety one where like it was Derwin James, Mika Fitzpatrick. I mean, it was Jesse Bates all in one. It was, sometimes they just all hit.
Odd how they all stacked up in there. Yeah, exactly. At number 3, Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs, the stalwart for them. You could argue that without Chris Jones, they don't have a Super Bowl as much as good as Patrick Mahomes is. And he's just been really fantastic ever since 2018. Has either made the Pro Bowl or second team All-Pro all the last 4 years.
Yep. And only Aaron Donald has a better pass rush win rate since Jones has been drafted in the NFL. I mean, so you're talking about someone who can pressure the quarterback second to none, really, outside of, again, Aaron Donald, who we consider to be a one-of-one Hall of Fame generational type guy. Since Jones has been in the league, he's been doing it just as well, or, nipping at his heels in that regard.
This is like, if you're pulling stats for like this type of like podcast or this type of story, it's like, if you find something that's like, he's second to Aaron Donald, you're like, well, I'm done with that blurb.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like here's
case in point, period, move on.
Here's the stat you need to know. Exactly. I mean, it's Cam Hayward checks in at number 2. The son of Ironhead has also a 2011 draft pick. Pretty wild how these guys are doing it. And just like Cam Jordan.
Yeah.
Cam Hayward was good to very good for the first, I guess, 6 years of his career. And then the last 5 has just exploded. Like his production has gotten substantially better. 12 sacks in 2017, 4 sacks, in a just slightly down 2020, but still second team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. And then in 2021, back up to 10 sacks. Obviously gets pressure, is great against the run, is one of the leaders of that team. And, is probably also, like Cameron Jordan, gotten himself either into the Hall of Fame or in the Hall of Fame discussion.
And just kind of back it up. And I know some people, when you mention like the PFF grades and stuff, they roll their eyes a little bit, but it does back up what you were saying, where he's just kind of gotten better with age. His highest graded PFF seasons of his career have all come these last 3 seasons.
Yep.
He has become a better player over time, whether that's, just something's being unlocked, he's figuring it out. But it's not like he was a bad player at all. But again, something is clicking with him in this later stages of his career where he's just an absolutely insane. I mean, 10 sacks, 89 tackles, 9 pass breakups or passes defended. That's impressive for a guy, especially the pass breakups, for a guy that's in the interior.
Absolutely. I mean, the dude is it's Cameron Jordan. It's just weird because they have the same. It's just the 2 Camerons who were unheralded guys, and have just in the last 5 years from that same draft class, it just exploded. It's wild to see. And then number 1, again, I won't talk about it for very long. What do you say about Aaron Donald? He's
Like-
from a defensive standpoint, the only person I can think of that is remotely close to him in terms of this guy is going into the Hall of Fame, and it is like the discussion in the room is 30 seconds, maybe. From a defensive standpoint, like JJ Watt's the only guy who's like remotely close. I mean, Aaron Donald, it is, if you go to PFR and you bring up his, like the one flaw in his resume, Sully, this is literally the only flaw in his resume, is that in 2014, despite making the Pro Bowl and despite being the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, he was not voted the first team All Pro.
Well,
That's it.
Second ballot at this point. I mean, come on. That's going to knock him down.
Should be added to the first team All Pro. I need to see who was on the first team All Pro that knocked Aaron Donald off. It appears it was Ndamukong Suh and Marcel Darius.
I mean,
he was the PFF first team All Pro.
All right. Well, I don't know if that's on the Wikipedia resume, but still better than nothing.
I just didn't know that. I didn't realize when they added that onto the PFR. It's interesting.
But I'll say this, Aaron Donald, take away the quarterbacks. I think he's the most slam dunk Hall of Famer that's in the NFL right now. I mean, you can't obviously say that with Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers still around, but if you take the quarterbacks out, who else are you, like you're saying, having that 30-second conversation with? I mean,
I think you could argue he has a better resume than Aaron Rodgers.
So okay, take out Tom Brady, include the rest of the quarterbacks. Is he the next guy that's the biggest slam dunk?
I think it's easier than, I mean, like Rodgers is just like, I mean, there's just
they'll nitpick because it's quarterbacks.
Rodgers wouldn't make it, but like I think the let's say that Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers retiring the same year, and Aaron Donald retiring the same year. Like Aaron Donald, it's Tom Brady is the first discussion, and it's like, does anybody want to talk? Okay, Tom Brady, good. Okay, everybody, all right, good. And then I think they might go to Aaron Donald next, because like, would you put Aaron Rodgers in the same year as Tom Brady? I mean, I think you probably have to.
I think you have to. I don't like that, because what was it? It would have been this year with Ben Roethlisberger and Brady. You throw them all in. I know it's I know that you might want to just have Brady have his own thing, but if you wanted that to happen, just make the exception and throw him in immediately. Like, do something.
Right. You could bypass the 5 years for like Brady. Yeah.
Wasn't that Gretzky? Didn't they do that with Gretzky?
I didn't do that with Gretzky.
I'm almost positive they did that with Gretzky. Maybe I'm getting that mistaken, but
I wouldn't mind that with Tom Brady, where it's like, if you're going to push anyone back because of Tom Brady, the second you have an opening, put Tom Brady in.
But I like what you're saying about, when they're in the room, Brady next. I do think that the Donald's conversation is very similar.
Like, is the Aaron Donald conversation faster than the Aaron Rodgers conversation? Probably.
I think it is.
Because it's like,
I think that you will have some people, especially if he does not win another Super Bowl, they're not going to not put him in for a first ballot, obviously, but there will be more nuanced conversations about it than just saying, yep, we good, moving on. And what's hilarious is that this scenario could happen.
Could easily happen.
It's not at all improbable.
2 years or what? Yeah, exactly. Like all three guys. I'm not saying they keep it. Like it would. There's no way that the media would let Aaron Rodgers be a second ballot Hall of Famer.
I mean, one mulled retirement at the Super Bowl, one retired and came back, and the other one's Aaron Rodgers, who
has threatened retirement for the last 10 years.
It doesn't. You never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. All right, we snuck it in under an hour, maybe. The commercial break, depending on how long it was. Sully, great stuff as always. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. For Sully, I'm Brinson. We'll talk to you guys later.